You have to make room in order for your manifestations to show up in your life and to be a part of your reality. Welcome or welcome back. It's your favorite mental health specialist, High Guidance, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. When you decide to invest into yourself, when you decide to be committed to your goals and your dreams and the things that you are admirable about, you have to realize that your mindset has to change. You have to realize that you're going to change. You have to realize that every single day that you're contributing into your success and whatever it is that you want to experience, that anything that you were once familiar with that is not helping you in the direction to grow and receive the things that you want, you have to make room. So an example of this is if you decide to physically move, if you have a goal to physically relocate to a different environment, whether you live in an apartment, a condo, or a house, before you're able to move where you lived previously, you have to clean out your storage, you have to clean out your space, and you have to pack your belongings. The reason why you have to pack your belongings is because how else are you going to physically get to your destination? You have to realize that when we're moving, it's recommended to donate or to throw away things that you do not want to bring with you. And this is the same thing when it comes to healing. It's the same thing when it comes to being consistent. When you decide to heal yourself, everything that you've experienced previously, if it is not productive, if it's not influential, if it's not positive, you have to learn to let go of, and it's a process. So when you decide to become the best version of yourself, if you were used to being negative, if you're used to being around people who weren't uplifting or motivating, if you're not used to seeing people in your community doing the things that you want to do, you have to be okay with creating distance from these people. You have to be okay with changing the time and energy that you pour into them. You have to be okay with having boundaries and distance with people in your relationships. If not, when you allow the past ways of thinking, old ways of believing, old mindsets, old patterns and behaviors show up in your current reality, you're going to be conflicted. When you decide to become the best version of yourself, it does not have to be hard. It does not have to be difficult. Now, of course, when you're doing something that's unfamiliar in the beginning, most people feel like this because they're unaware. They're not prepared. They may lack experiences. They may not have the resources. They may not have the tools. They may have never been not exposed, or they're just afraid, which is common. But you have to realize that if your goal is to move on March 28th and you start to pack and go through your house on March 1st, every single day within those days, you're putting in the work. It's one thing to say that you want to do certain things, but the fruits of your labor and the seeds that you planted will start to grow. So therefore, when it's time for you to move, you're not overwhelmed. You don't feel underprepared. You're not rushing. And that's what a lot of people fail to realize. Unless you have a viral moment, unless you have like a hot pocket microwave moment, what you do daily is going to lead up to your results. It's what you do daily. You cannot skip the line. There is no handout. Like, you cannot take an elevator to success. You can, but the same way you were able to go up in the elevator and it only takes a couple of seconds versus you taking the stairs is the same way you could fall back down to your demise. And that's what we don't want to do. So these are going to be 5 things that you need to start preparing yourself for. So therefore, you don't need to be overwhelmed. The first thing you have to do in order for you to be prepared for what it is that you're asking for is making sure you're doing what you need to do. So if you're new here, I created a 30-day consistency challenge as well as being successful and broke down the importance of that, which means the responsibilities, what you're able to do, what's in your control and what's not. Focusing on things that are out of your control right now is not going to help you and it's not important. Focusing on what you do have control over is going to allow you to make the necessary changes and the necessary steps. So therefore, you're able to build the momentum. And when it's time for you to do certain things, you can execute them without being stressed out, without being overwhelmed, without feeling just anxious. So it's like, if you know that realistically, within March 1st and March 30th or March 28th, whatever date I said as an example, that you need to move, During March 1st, how many hours in the day are you able to pack your stuff? How many minutes, how many seconds do you have to go through your closet, to go through your clothes, to box up your stuff? Time management is important in order for you to become successful, in order for you to heal yourself, because you have to be very intentional. You have to make sure that you're using your time wisely. The second thing you have to do once you realize your time management, what's in your control, is what you're able to do. So what is your to-do list? So you know that you have maybe 3 hours, 4 hours to pack stuff. What are you doing within those 4 hours? You need to have some type of structure. And in the 30-day consistency challenge, I break down the why. You need to have structure. You cannot do things that are not specific or intentional, because in order for you to manifest a certain result, it has to be intentional. Like, it's not an accident. It has to be very much so plain. It has to be very much so you can actually see it. Our goals moving within 28 days, 30 days, 3 weeks is not impossible. If you're moving with intention, you have structure, you know what's in your control, you have to take every single day for what it is. There is not a day that is not important when it comes to your life, especially when you decide to heal yourself. The third thing that you have to focus on, once you realize what's in your control, once you realize your to-do list and what you're doing, is how it's making you feel. If you have days where you don't feel like doing something, you're allowed to rest. You're not lazy because you have to take your time. When we don't have the finances, we don't have the resources, and we don't have the support and help, we have to do things by ourselves. And speaking from experience, when you are self-made, when you do things by yourself, it requires a lot more energy and effort because you don't have that support. Not just that, when you rest, you don't have to feel overwhelmed, or overwhelmed. There is no reason for us to be receiving our manifestations when our nervous system is not regulated, when our mindset is all over the place, our emotions are unbalanced, we are not stable. Like I said, that's what we don't want to avoid. We want to learn how to pace ourselves. We want to learn how to be present. We want to learn how to be practical, and we want to be in the moment. But in order for you to do that, you have to have balance. So yes, you may have 4 days throughout the week that you're able to pack and take the time to heal yourself and work on yourself, but you need to be realistic about your schedule. If you don't have free time and you have to go to work, you have to know how many days out the week, how many days throughout the month, how many days throughout the year am I able to take this time for myself, and schedule days where you have your self-care days, where you have your days where you're resting, because you don't want to be a robot. You don't want to be a slave. And no shade, no disrespect, I don't promote working hard. I do promote that you do have to work. You don't have to work hard. You can work hard if you want to, but working hard still doesn't get people to where they need to be. You can work smart, and that's the goal. The goal is to work very intentionally, effectively, and to be smart, because when you're smart about certain things, you know that, okay, I can only do so much within a week. I can only do so much within a day. When I have time to myself, I need to rest, because what happens is when you're constantly working and working and working and working and you don't learn to rest, you're going to learn how to burn out, and then you start to lose momentum. You start to not become motivated. You start to compare yourself. You don't have to do those things if you're taking your time. If you have days where you're doing what you're doing, you reward yourself, you rest, you relax. So therefore you have the energy, because the goal when it comes to a lifestyle is the longevity. It's to sustain it. It's not something you want to experience just for the moment. Like I said, depending on what your goal is, even when you move, you then now have to unload the boxes that you have. So if you have a lot of stuff, when most people move, unless they're moving for the first time, you have to unload the boxes. You have to clean your house. You have to paint your walls. You have to vacuum your floor. You have to now buy basic necessities. You have to buy toilet paper. You have to go grocery shopping. You have to make sure that everything you need is now equipped. You got to change your mailing address. Like me, I have to change my mailing address. You have to do a lot of things. Like, it's so much that goes into what it is that we're asking for. So it's just like, when you have a level of awareness, you know that, okay, I don't need to be so tense. I don't need to be so stressed, because I'm able to be practical and realistic. The fourth thing, when you're taking your time to rest, you're rewarding yourself, you're celebrating yourself, you're keeping a positive attitude. Yes, when you decide to commit to yourself, when you decide to heal yourself, like I said, you have to realize you are unlearning old ways, old patterns, old beliefs. You have to realize that the only people and the places and things who are going to be triggered and challenged by you becoming the best version of yourself are people you're meant to outgrow or people who don't mean you well. You have to be okay with people not liking you anymore. You have to be okay with falling out with people. You have to be okay with people talking about you. It doesn't matter. It didn't make a difference. If people were fake, phony, and baloney when you weren't the best version of yourself, it's not going to matter when you become the best version of yourself. Those are no longer going to be your people. You have to know that during this time, you're building a relationship with yourself. You're learning to trust yourself. You're learning to have faith if you're not confident and you lack that. And you're going to trust yourself and allow everything to work out how it's supposed to. So lastly, you have to let go of your expectations. Having expectations for something that you've never been exposed to or done before is only going to lead to disappointment. And that's what you also want to avoid too. You don't have to be disappointed when it comes to you becoming successful or going after your dreams. You just have to know that, okay, some things may take time. Some things, do require more energy and effort. And like I said, unless you have the support, unless you have the guidance, unless you have the finances and the resources, it's up to you. So you don't have to rush. You don't have to feel overwhelmed. So if you guys have questions, comments, concerns, and you have specific topics that you guys want me to go over and discuss, let me know in the comment section, as well as let me know if I did not address anything in this video or anything that you want me to talk about. Lastly, make sure to follow me on all social media platforms. All my information will be down in the description box below. And make sure you guys are going on live. I'm having a live event today. Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 at 12:25, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, answering you guys' questions and comments because we're not able to reach our goal just yet. Until we reach our goal here on YouTube, I would love to answer you guys' questions. Make sure you guys, if you are interested in the service, head to my website at TyGoddessSummer.com. My business hours are from Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you guys are not able to afford a session, that's understandable. Make sure you guys are liking this video, engaging. Don't be shy because you watched the video all the way to the end. You're here for a reason. You have to realize too that when you decide to do something, you have to pick a side. And when you decide to subscribe to these videos, very intentional. Once you make up your mind, that's it. You don't have to go back and forth. Same thing when it comes to your healing journey. Once you decide that you want to become better, we got to be about it. You can't yap no more. It's one thing to talk about what you're going to do versus you taking the time to do it. So let me know what you guys want to talk about, and make sure you guys are live on my TikTok today if you haven't missed it already, and follow me. And when I post on Instagram and on TikTok in my story time, let me know what you guys want to talk about. Like I said, if you guys are not able to afford a session. I love you guys. See you later. Bye.